Hello, welcome to a special episode of What Are You Selling? I'm going to start that again because that was terrible. I've not been drinking or anything today, but I feel like I have been. I'm writing the last chapter of a book at the moment, so like I'm kind of like my head is just like all over the place. You know when you get to that last chapter and you just
Yes.
Yeah.
And your head is fully consumed and there's no
Yeah.
room for remembering how to make coffee.
Especially when it's like multiple POVs and you're trying to pull everything together in that last little bit and you're like, where is everybody? What are they all doing? What is life at the moment? Okay. Hello, welcome to a special episode of What Are You Selling with me, David Green. And today I am delighted to be joined again by Ron Lahr. And for the first time, RJ Burchett. How are you both doing today?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Excellent.
I'm
If you're
good,
wondering
thank
why
you.
I'm wearing a suit, it's because Ron is always criticizing me how I appear on these when I wear jumpers or t-shirts. I thought I'd make an effort for him today, and he's nonplussed by it.
You look wonderful. I think it's great.
Thanks,
I especially applaud the tie because it takes a lot for me to wear a tie just because of the comfort level, even though I have a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, next time you have to wear a tie. That is the way.
I guess so.
It's gonna be one up.
Yeah, you've one up me.
Yes.
The episode after that, I'll wear a top hat.
Yes, and then I will wear a monocle. I'll replace my glasses and wear a monocle, and then forever
Be awesome.
on top. So
I own a top hat that I could wear. I'm not sure if I own a suit anymore because I had boys who were all roughly my size, and so I have no idea what clothing I really own anymore. It all sort of, walked
Migrated
away.
to their,
Yes.
yeah, that's why the advice for people that are watching, if you have children, must make sure they're all different sizes. Although it'll probably be more expensive.
I made sure to only have female children to protect my clothes.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That would have helped.
That would help, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're both on today for a special reason, is because you have written a book together.
That's correct.
Indeed.
So why don't
Thank you for noticing.
Yes, thank you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, and everyone that's watching, and everyone who, if you watched on YouTube or you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Music or Anchor FM, if this is your first time with us, please subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. But why don't you tell us a little bit about this book that you've written together?
Well, it's a humorous science fiction action adventure story. It is called You Get What You Steal. And we're still working on our elevator pitch, how we can talk about it and not give away some of the plot and character elements, because there are multiple plot and character elements. Back me up here, Ron. It's got both plot and
stuff.
Characters. How
would
you describe
multiple
it,
characters in this book,
Ron, without
I would say space outlaws, hilarity ensues. I just love saying that. Hilarity ensues. Great. You're maybe awesome.
Yeah, which should go without saying, but I think you could say it again, how awesome it is.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Just I think anyone who doesn't read it will regret it.
Especially those who never hear about it.
Especially
the people who don't hear about it, those are the ones I pity the most.
Right.
Yeah. They'll be on their deathbed, the final breath rattling in the chest, and they'll be like, I wish that I'd heard about this book.
Right. My thing will be, I think my prediction is people will be like, I regret I didn't work more and read You Get What You Steal.
You Get What You Steal. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair. So where did the idea of this come from? Because I'm always endlessly fascinated by people that work on books together. I just love the dynamic of how you decide to do what and why you even decide to do it as well. But I kind of get that as well, because obviously writing is such a solitary experience, right? It's just you and your laptop or your typewriter or your pen and paper for hours and hours and hours, slowly going insane while you're writing. And then you get to the next book that you work on more insane than you were at the start of the previous book, and the cycle continues. So I get why you'd want to do it with someone and go insane with someone at the same time. So where did the idea for You Get What You Steal come from, and what sparked the plan to work on it with someone else?
Well, it started run through a party, and it failed. And this was in the days before cell phones. So everybody else got the message that it was off except me, and I show up, and he's like, well, what should we do then? And we sat down and started writing. I don't think we had any particular plan when we started, maybe a short story, and it just got away from us.
Yeah, I remember it differently, of course, because that sounded awful. It was like a weekly poker game, and everybody else canceled, and I couldn't get a hold of Robin, so he still showed up. And I've been reading Partners in Wonder by Harlan Ellison, which is a collection of short stories. He collaborated with different people, and at the end of each story, he would talk about how they wrote it, the mechanics of how they collaborated. And I said, let's this is the old days. I had an electric typewriter, and I said, let's take turns writing a page. And so the other guy would just sit there, and so I would type a page. When I was done, I'd hand it to him, and he'd read it. Then he'd type a page up and hand it to me, and and we went back and forth. And initially, yeah, the plan was a short story, and the only thing we started with was Clint, who is one of the three main characters, and he's on the cover of the book, so I feel like it's not giving away too much. But he's this big green donut-shaped alien with 5 legs and a bunch of eye stalks. And for some reason, I had an image of him in my mind, and that's all I remember we started with. It's going to be science fiction. This alien will be in it. Let's go. And then it went beyond that. Although we did do a lot of editing, as you can imagine, with writing in that style. There was a lot of editing, and as I remember, we originally switched back and forth point of view between 2 of the 3 main characters for a long time before we gave up, and we had to rewrite almost all of that out because it was just bad, I guess.
It wasn't awesome at that stage. So you've been working on this for a long time then?
Oh yeah, we were very young when we started, teenagers, late teens. It was the apartment, the first apartment I lived in after I moved out of my parents' house.
Right.
Yes.
And
what I recall most about that apartment, Ron, is the landlord controlled the heat and, of course, kept it down low. So you would simply turn on your gas oven and all the gas burners.
oh my God, I don't remember that. That's so dumb.
Yeah. Hey, it warmed the place up.
Yeah.
I'm
And you
Sure.
still,
I mean,
you didn't sustain that much brain damage. So
I would smoke too for heat, apparently.
yes.
I'm beginning to see why everyone cancelled on the poker game. Go into this oven of a house where they might die.
Well, and especially because we would smoke cigars while we were playing. God, I don't remember that about the heat at all. That's hilarious. It was an old hotel that had been cut up into apartments
Right, okay.
in a very bad part of town. And yeah, there was the gentle melody of sirens often, whether it be ambulances or police. Oh, goodness.
Rip down memory lane. So how much of this, so obviously this has been years in the making. So, and you were saying before how you work on it on typewriter and you do a page and a page. How did that develop? I mean, how much of it has been written with you two been sat in the same room, opposed to you two being like, doing it remotely? And
Well,
which
the
way
first
did you
draft
prefer doing
was
it as well?
100% written with us both in well, almost 100. I remember Robin wrote one scene at least at home and came back with multiple pages, and I was, of course, furious. He had broken the magic. But
it was good stuff.
yeah, oh, definitely. But the vast majority of it, we sat together in that room, and I mean, the person who wasn't writing could go do whatever, but it wasn't like it took a long time, to write one typewritten page, double spaced. It wasn't like come back in 3 hours. I mean,
Right.
and we were trying to go as fast as we could, because everyone knows the faster you write, the
The
better it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So none of that thinking.
That is a universal truth.
Yeah, the brain is your own worst enemy, as they say.
Yeah. So obviously this is a unique way of writing these days, because most people that work together on a project will do it remotely and so on. And obviously when it got to the editing point, to get to this point, you were probably doing it more remotely than you were in the same room. So which way did you prefer working on this? Did you like the old days where you were both together, or did you like being able to do your own thing and going around it when you forgot to it?
Well, it's certainly more fun to work together. Ron just went through a long spell by himself, which I appreciate, just using the word processing tools to clean it up.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah.
There's definitely, for me, collaboration is about energy, right?
Right.
There were days, I mean, it was powerful. And I mean, there was not a lot that I would say was better when you get that energy flowing, and man, it's really interesting to be handed a sheet of paper and read something and laugh out loud, and just be so impressed with it, and have it inspire you to write something that is hopefully similarly humorous. I mean, that was a great summer. And I mean, we all know writing can be very solitary, and the same way a person sitting alone watching a TV show or a movie isn't as prone to laugh out loud as in a crowd. I mean, you just get that social aspect of it that's very fulfilling. And yeah, it's nice to be inspired, and people may not read this book and say, oh, these guys, they were so inspired. I don't know, but it sure felt that way at the time. And yeah, it's some of my fondest memories. And I don't know how you would do the same thing editing, which is just some of it is just drudge work, but definitely I would do it again. I mean, it's a lot harder as an adult, with family responsibilities and all that, than when you're a teenager and you have, I mean, I was a janitor. I don't even remember what Robin was doing at the time, but it wasn't like I had a real heavy duty job going on.
Yeah, I might have been unemployed that summer, or working as a lifeguard or something relatively light duty.
Exactly. It had to have been, because otherwise we would never been able to have all those.
Right.
Because there were days when it was like 8 to 10 hours a day we were working together on the book. And now maybe our wives would be happy if we left to go work on a book for 10 or 12 hours a day. I'm certain some days my wife would like that, but in general it would be very difficult to find the time like that. Although of course now with the technology, we could have a Zoom meeting and work versus having to be in the same room.
Right, which isn't quite the same. You get a certain energy just being together with other humans. I know a lot of us have forgotten what that's like in the last couple of years, but
definitely.
So obviously this was worked on many summers ago, and it's coming out now. So what was the journey from finishing it to it coming out now at this point, and why now? Did you just kind of just finish it and put it away and be like, we'll come back to that another time in the future, and then just life got in the way?
No, what really happened is in the intervening years, when we had fallen out of contact. We had both, indie published a book or three. And then when we got back together, we were like, we love money. We should publish this book too. And I think I said that. And then beyond the book, I was talking to Joe Compton, the founder of the Go Indie Now network, and I was participating in This Week in Indies, the panel show. And I swear, for the last few weeks, it seemed like somebody was announcing a show they were going to do, whether it was a podcast or a YouTube show, something. And I'm like, I want to do a show. I love doing these. I want to have fun. And so after the show, I asked Joe, or I said to Joe, I want to do a show. I don't know what, but I want to do something fun. And he said, well, if you do it, you should do it on the Go Indie Now network. And I said, well, that sounds great. So I thought, and I decided to do a game show. And then I thought I don't have high enough speed internet. I should do it with Robin. He's got great internet. And
you can see how more clearly defined I am.
Yeah, I mean, I am bloated, but also I'm low res, and
which he is in real life, to be fair. So
it's always great to be on a show and somebody else, starts pausing and freezing, and I'm like, oh, those idiots. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's my internet connection. It's always me. Yeah. But I live out in the country. What are you going to do? Limited options. But one of the things I didn't think about when I wanted to make a show was it's so dependent on the guest. No matter how great the host is, if you have a guest that's low energy or dumb, I don't know, awful in some way, it would certainly be nicer to have a co-host to try and keep the energy level up and fun, because I want to attract an audience, so I want to have it be fun and funny.
Sure.
And so now there we are. It premieres the end of this month.
There we go. And then obviously then you got in touch with RJ and was like, and you were like, let's get this book sorted out as well. And had you, Robin, did you remember the book? Were you like,
yes.
Book? Yeah. It seems that you have the better memory of the two, to be fair. You seem to remember things a lot more clearly.
I remember things confidently.
Right.
Not necessarily clearly, but my wife will attest that I will speak with confidence on any subject. So it hadn't fallen out of memory, but I got busy with life and everything, and I'm like, oh gosh, I remember I wrote a book all these years ago, but it was just, it seemed so daunting to try to publish the thing. I'd published a book previously, and I did a pretty good job. Here, I'll hold it up for the camera here. Oh, look, it's reversed. It's a mirror image. If you could read that in English, it says Smart Dad, Dumb Dad, and it's a parody of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series of books. So I did that several years ago, published it, but I was terrible at the marketing aspect of it. So I will sell upwards of 2 or 3 books every year with my current marketing efforts. And so after I got back in touch with Ron, he seems to have a better line on how to proceed with that than I do. So I'm just going along for the ride and trying to get this thing fired up again, because
Well, that answers one of my questions, because I was going to say, like, what kind of things do you publish? But you have answered my question. It's like you knew I was going to ask it. Obviously, Ron does a lot of fantasy. So why sci-fi? Was this something that you were just, were you both just high on Star Wars at the time, and you were like, let's do a Han Solo the book? Because I know a lot of people kind of did that.
It was the 1960s. So Star Wars hadn't come out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm lying. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly am a huge science fiction fan. And I mean, I also love fantasy. I love humor. I mean, I will admit, the older I get, the less I want to read serious literary fiction or, heavy stuff. I need, with my life, like most people, I need, during the pandemic, I needed escapism.
Yeah.
But I think it was just at the time sci-fi was, front of brain for me.
Right.
And I mean, certainly I had loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I had read, well, I don't know, a lot of stuff. I think it was just luck of the week that it happened. If it happened 2 weeks later, it might have been something, we would have written a Harlequin romance. Who knows?
I have read a couple of those since, and I don't think I could write one.
Not with Ron.
No, mine would be awful if I did
Yeah.
it. You hear writers say, if all I cared about was money, I'd just write romance. And I'm like, no, I care about money, but I'm not going to do it because I would stink. It would be awful.
Yeah, that is true though. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's there's a quite a well-known Irish writer who does crime novels, the Jack Taylor books, and they're quite big in Ireland, but they're much bigger in the UK and in America, and Netflix did a TV series on them as well. And they're the crime novels set in Ireland. And he was telling me one time that he was invited to a literary festival where he had to speak, and it was all people talking about James Joyce and Oscar Wilde and all this kind of stuff and everything. And then they were like, well, "What do you write?" And he was like, "I write crime novels," right? And everyone was like, kind of, "Oh god." And he was like, "Well, I've been full-time writing for 30 years at this point, and like I've sold X millions of books and what have you." And one of the people that was organizing the festival went up to him and said, "I think I might write one of these crime novels," as if it was just the easiest thing to do in the world, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you're not worried about quality, I think writing any kind of book is easy.
Right.
I mean,
parenting advice. Yeah.
I could
Sure.
write a book that's a romance. It would just be awful. But I feel like I could put it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. As we said before, the faster you go, the better. So it's all falling into shape. Robin, so were you a sci-fi fan at the time as well?
Oh yes. Yeah. Well, it's so prevalent in the culture that most people in the world who read or consume any fiction are. For a time, I was actually attending science fiction conventions as a professional. I had the different color badge because I was getting short stories published in various magazines, and I ended up getting married and having children and getting a real job, and I don't know what got into me to do all that nonsense, but yeah, it sort of dampened my free time, if you know what I mean.
I do. I know exactly.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest reasons the book is coming out now is our kids grew up. None of our children live at home anymore. Well, I don't know, Parker, but they're all adults. And when my youngest moved out to go to college, I suddenly had so much free time. We didn't have to provide nutritious meals for her. We didn't have to take her here and there. We didn't have to go to her events. She played tennis, so we had to go to hours-long tennis matches where other people played, and then briefly she'd play a match. So it might take
pretty
6 hours of my day.
Yeah,
she was adequate player, but there's a team of 30 people, and so 90% of the time other children are playing.
Right.
And I hardly like my children, so you can imagine how much I like other people's children.
Yes, exactly.
Not very much. No. Although, to be fair, Robin's son Parker that I met, a delight, but he's also a grown-up, so
he's not really a child anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure he was awful as a teenager.
He had his moments that were challenging.
Yeah, I mean, weren't we all awful as teenagers?
Yes.
To be fair, you're allowed to be
awful
when you're a teenager. It's
otherwise you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just science.
Yeah, my son is 4, so I'm right at the start of this where I'm not going to be able to work on books with other people for another 16 years or something. I just have to do them on my own. But before he becomes a teenager, I'm going to say to him, you are allowed to be a terrible person for the next few years. It's fine. Just get it out of your system. Get it all out of your system now, and then be nice when you turn 19, maybe 18. We'll see. Just let him do it.
Well, and that way, no matter what he does, no matter how much he may defy you, he's obeying you.
Yes, exactly.
You want to?
Yes.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought long and hard about it. So now that the kids have grown up and moved out, the book is done. Is the team back together? Is there more plans to work on sequels to this book or other ones altogether?
Yes, if we can get this one to sell, if people pick it up and read it and enjoy it, then absolutely, we want to do more.
Yes, we've plotted out a 500 book series.
Mhm.
We're hoping to get one out every month.
Yes.
For pretty much
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
remember, speed.
I mean, the first one took 30 years, but we feel like we worked the kinks out.
Yeah.
And we can get the next one out a lot quicker than 30 years.
You hope so, really. Like,
Yeah, well, and we
Yeah,
have a team in
considering-
India that we've hired that they're just going to take care of most of it.
If,
If you've read the 4-Hour Work Week, then
yeah.
if we can only get them out every 30 years, then yeah, it's going to be a pretty limited series, unless scientists get robot bodies ready, which would be awesome. I would love
Imagine the anticipation, though. There'd be like 30 years. I've been waiting 30 years for this book, for the sequel.
Yeah, at the end of each book, we're like, mark your calendar
Yeah,
for 30 years from now.
30 years from now. That'd
That's
be
true.
great.
We'll have to run this by our marketing team.
So is the plan to stay with sci-fi with if you obviously if you want to make sequels to this one, it will be, but have you got any ideas for any other types of books as well, or is it just get this one done and out and then work on the next one?
Well, for me, get this one out, get the show going, and then I have an anthology that Robin is participating in, and lots of people I know are writing short stories that take place in the world of my fantasy series, the Cathaldi Chronicles. So I've got a few stories in there, and then a bunch of stories by other people. And there's a lot of editing work to do to make sure it fits in with the world.
Yes.
Although I will admit, some of the stories have gone into areas that I hadn't even thought about for the world. So they have defined the world, and then just the regular editing of their work. So I don't know how soon I can get that out, but I really want to get that done. And then, but I hope at the same time we'll start working on the next book in the series. And for me, I would write all sorts of things together. It's just fun, and it's a lot easier to keep the energy going when there's another person. And then, of course, all the bad things, you have somebody to blame. It's like marriage, you just have to leverage it correctly to get the maximum benefit out of it.
it's true. And we have different strengths and weaknesses. For instance, I rely on Ron to send me emails and say, I need your author bio.
Yeah. I'm the stronger nag of our group. Yeah, definitely. I feel like I learned that from my wife.
Which one?
The second one, the current.
The first one
current
wasn't
Mrs.
good
Lahr.
enough at nagging. Is that why she
She
had to
was-
cut her loose?
Well, she divorced me, but I orchestrated that
By being unpleasant
yes, by being
for
by being
decades?
myself for 15 years. No, she wasn't a real go-getter at the time, so yeah, she didn't nag me. She was great, however, at spending money. If you needed somebody
Money
to
spent.
spend more money than you had, she was your gal. Like at the time, I mean, we were kids when we got married, and I would manage to save like $100, and she would spend $1,000. And she'd be like, "Oh, we have $100." Blah. Saving up to buy a house was real chore during that time. But no, Laura, my forever wife, my everything. She's in the other room. Is wonderful. I don't want to get hit or anything.
Yeah.
Not this time of the day either. You don't want to start off the day by getting hit.
Are you safe at home? Wink if you're unsafe.
Wink.
So, You Are What You Steal. When is it out? When is it available to buy?
Thursday.
If I can
I
get
don't
my
remember.
author bio in Thursday.
Even if you don't, I will write something and it will not be flattering. Thursday, March 10th comes out, and I'm in pre-order jail because of missing a pre-order due to a family tragedy, really. So I can't create a pre-order, so it will just show up on Thursday, and then we should be rich by, I think, Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, Tuesday.
It's going to take 5 days.
Yes. Yep.
It's normally 6 days, but the book is so good, it's going to take.
It's so good. It's got a great cover. I mean, we don't have a physical copy of the book yet, so I can't show it to you, but I do love the cover. And the title. I mean, the title, is, for most of the time, it was my favorite thing about the book was the title, because I think it's so great.
Yeah, it's a good title. You Are What You Steal.
You get what you steal.
You get what you steal. Sorry,
you are what you eat. That's the sequel.
You are what you eat. Yeah, that's the sequel. And the show that you're doing on the Go Indie Network, Go Indie Now Network, when is that launching?
March 29th. It'll be on Tuesday nights. It's called Indie Mayhem. All of the guests are indie creators, either writers, musicians, or filmmakers, or something to do with those industries. And it is a tournament. So there's basically 9 shows with 3 contestants each, and the 9 winners go on to the next round, and then there's 3 shows in the next round, and then the final championship, even though we don't know what they win yet. That's a great question. But there are prizes, and the way it stands right now, our sponsors donate the prizes, and then the losers get a copy of You Get What You Steal to teach them to try harder.
Right.
This is the important
thing. I got to smarten them up. There has to be some consequences for poor performance. So.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's like life, isn't it?
Yes.
Robin, what is next for you? So obviously the book is out on March the 10th. Is there anything that you're working on?
The next thing is to figure out how to reverse the image on my computer, but to get this book out as a Kindle book, because right now it's only available in physical copies, but get that out in Kindle, promote that, because it also is brilliant, but underappreciated in the world at large.
I like the old schoolness of it, of just releasing a physical copy. It's great. I like it. It's like you can have the physical copy, you cannot have the digital copy until I'm good and ready.
You would never know that we're old.
Yeah. No, you'd never know. Not with this hair. I mean, this is definitely youthful.
Well, you have by far.
It's adorable that you think so.
Yeah. You have by far the most hair out of all of us, so don't.
True.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on to the show today and talking to me about your new books, and best of luck with it. I hope you're going to give me the 10% of the sales that you promised me for coming back.
Oh yes, at least.
Because obviously it's going to be, and I think you said it was a royalties for when it gets made into a TV series as well, didn't you? You said that.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
it would make a good TV series.
Or movie,
graphic novel, or movie, or
any video game, anything that would make us money. I think it would do well as.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and everyone who's watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast. All of the links for the guys, where you can find them on social media and on the internet, and where you can find the book, because once this is up, the book will be out. You can check it on there. Please look at it. Please download it. Give it a look and let us know what you think about it. Thanks very much, guys, for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
David.
Great to see you again.
Yeah. And everyone who's listening and watching at home, until next time.